Welcome back to our channel, and thanks for subscribing our channel. This is Rebecca, this is Mark. We are RV Flottante,
translated to the
floating life. Yes. So this channel is all about our RV full-time living experiences, and then the things we would like to do: motorcycle riding, scuba diving, photography, and also we have a patron community where we only post sequencing videos over there for our patron members, so you will never make it public on our YouTube channel. So go over there and then set it up.
Check it out.
Yeah.
In today's video, we're going to talk about the top 10 things you need to know before you buy an RV. Buying an RV is a daunting task to do it properly. I mean, you can start off small, you can start off cheap, but you'll end up probably upgrading if you do that. It's best to take some time and get the vision about what you think you want to do, whether it's full-timing or part-timing in your RV, and how you want to live and how you want to camp. Do you want to glamp, which is just basically plugging in parking lots and RV parks with all the amenities, or do you actually want a more backcountry camp in a four-wheel drive with a truck camper, or something very more mobile? Those are some things that you'll want to think about in deciding.
So don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Let's enjoy the video.
So in the beginning, do you remember when we decided we were going to start to live in an RV? It was a joke.
Yeah, it was
right?
a joke.
It started off, we were in an apartment and rent got really high. It was like $3,600 a month for 800 square feet in the San Francisco area. And to give them a car every year seemed kind of ridiculous. So we were joking, just saying, hey, let's buy a trailer, camping a parking lot, and on weekends go to the beach.
Yeah, very ideal, huh?
And to be honest, it kind of came to be our reality. Rebecca and I went to
reality check.
Yeah, we went to an RV show, and she's like, "Oh my God, these are so big! I didn't know they were so nice."
Yeah, it looks so nice. Everything looks perfect.
Have you guys thought about upgrading?
Always.
When we see
every time we come here. So what's your favorite part about this RV?
This RV particularly, I love the sink.
Why is that?
Because it's so huge.
What's the problem with other sinks?
Other sinks are smaller and a little bit shallower.
So you can't do dishes.
No, not easily.
But you got a dishwasher here. Do you need that big of a sink?
Right. But you have to wash your vegetables, everything you prepare. Yeah. So it's nice to have a wider and deeper sink.
Easy to rinse, hand wash too.
Yeah. Wow, really separate. Like a theater area, huh?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, they have the nice feature, this one. See? One button.
Yeah. So at that point we decided, okay, we're going to make the leap of faith.
Yeah, the jump.
But the thing you have to do is you have to have a vision of what you plan on doing for camping. Are you going to spend a lot of money? Are you going to spend a little money? What type of camping are you going to do? I spent 6 weeks researching different RVs, which are better ones, which are worse ones, and then started looking at the classifieds because we decided to go used and started pricing RVs. So one of the first things in your vision is you want to understand what you need to buy and what type of camper is that going to be, and will it be new or used.
So after you have the vision, then second question you will ask yourself is, where do I want to camp?
It's a very good question, because there's a lot of ways you can camp. You can, there's tons of national parks. They're beautiful, they're nice places to go to, but they may have availability problems sometimes of the year, and also there are restrictions on length. A lot of them are 35, 25 feet in length restriction, although most people have that I've read has said they haven't had a problem getting their 40-footer in. But if you go along the beach side of the West Coast, most of those are very short camp spots that aren't going to fit a full-size Class A rig. So that's something you have to decide on. Do you want more comfort, or do you want more isolation in your camping spot? So that's a big issue. Also, you'll need to think about things like weather and how hot it'll be, because you have to air condition this unit. And usually if you buy a trailer, for instance, and you only have one rooftop 15,000 BTU on the top, it's not going to keep you cool enough in the deserts in the south. So you really need a 50 amp circuit that you can plug into, and you need at least 2 units on top to keep it cooler. We live in a park most of the time that doesn't get real hot, but when it gets to 100 degrees, we're not able to cool it below 80 degrees, 82 degrees, because we only have a 30 amp here. We have 2 units on top, but we can't use them both at the same time. So that's one big thing you have to think about. In the winter, if you're living in the north more and you're going to full-time, then clearly you need something that's got better insulation. It's got insulation around the plumbing, and usually the smaller trailers are not going to have that. So you have to have an understanding of what the temperature range are that you're going to camp in. If you're just a fair weather camper, then it's not really a big deal. And if you're only doing it part-time, it's really not as big of a deal also. But it's something that you have to consider.
So the third question you need to ask yourself is, am I going to boondock a lot, or am I going to stay in the RV park more often?
Well, first question then is, what is boondocking? Right? A lot of people don't even know that. There's basically two options. You can plug into full amenities with utilities, with sewer and electric, or you can go a lot of beautiful places in BLM land and boondock. We call it that because it's more remote, and there are really kind of 2 types of living environments. In boondocking, we found that it's just a wonderful way to travel, but clearly doing it full-time all the time are a different set of demands. It may not cost hardly any money, but you have to do things like plan your water supply, maybe have solar on the roof with batteries, or a generator, and propane, and then go in town for provisions, assuming you're not going to hunt and fish the whole time,
the water will be
which is hard to do. The big thing though is water, especially in the desert. There's a lot of BLM land in the desert, and we found that we could go about easily a week.
7 days.
7 days.
Very conservative.
Conservative on water. Take short showers. Have a drip pan for the sink when you're washing your hands, because if it's just soapy water, some of that you can reuse for like rinsing first-time dishes. And so that's one thing that you have to really think about, was what is your capacity on fuel, on water, to heat and to clean. You're not going to use electric much at all unless you have a generator or solar panels, which is a big trend. The issue with solar is that it's a big upgrade in money to do so. You can install it yourself, but you're going to have $5,000–10,000 easily if you install it yourself to have a fully functioning solar system.
So the fourth question you need to ask yourself is, how many people will travel with you in one RV?
Yeah, that's critical, because you need to figure out sleeping space. You need to figure out how you're going to function in that RV. If they're sleeping on a couch that pulls out, then every morning you wake up, the first person that wakes up, they're in the middle of their bedroom, so to speak, and if they want to cook breakfast, it's going to really be in the way. You're going to have to break down the bed and put it away, and you may not be very happy with that. So having a large family is really a challenge. Some of the toy haulers actually work better for that, because the kids can be in the back, and you can put several bunks back there. Or you can have a Class A that has a bunkhouse where there's several bunks on the side hallway area is another way. Then you each have your own area of privacy, which is really important. And remember, the smaller you get, the more mobile it is. So in a lot of ways, that's a big advantage. Better gas mileage, easier places to park, more places to park it in locations that are remote. And remember that in doing so, you're not really living so much in the van, so to speak, but you're living outdoors half the time. And some people prefer that, and I can see why. For us being full-timers, we kind of prioritized on how much space can we get that travels comfortably and that you can pee while we're going down the road. So we ended up with a Class A because of all those features. But I have to admit, when we go boondocking, we're definitely more limited on where we can take it. And sometimes I wish we had a little Sprinter van or a Jeep with an adventure trailer on the back where you could really get into boondocking in the remote sections. Not every RV is going to cover this well, but that's one of the big decisions that you have to make, is the size and how many people in your family.
Also, some people they choose a smaller RV, like a smaller trailer or B or C, but they have a couple of family or few family members travel with them. How do they sleep in the night? They would tent. They would tent outside. Yeah. So some people live in sleep inside the RV, and some people tent outside. So that's another solution.
In fact, that was always the most popular way at first. It started off basically getting in your car, throwing the tent up, and then a pop-up trailer was next. It's gotten much more sophisticated since then. But you don't really need to go over your budget, certainly, to enjoy camping in an RV.
The fifth question you need to ask yourself is, once you settle down at the campground, what are you going to travel around the area?
We didn't really learn this one right away, did we? Because we had the fifth wheeler, we got to the location, and then we realized that once we got there, we're basically only walking, or you could take a bike, but it was really limiting. And so you'll find that if you do this a lot, if you do this regularly, you want to be able to have a vehicle to go tour the area or to get groceries or whatever you need to get while your camp is set up. So in a small situation, if you have a Jeep that you sleep in with a tent, you can take the Jeep, leave the tent there. Or if you have a van and you sleep in the van, you have to take the van. You might still leave a tent set up, but you may have a lot of things set up out there, such as canopies, that you may leave. When you get into something bigger, such as a Class C or Class B, a B, it's harder to tow anything behind it.
No, B or C.
Yeah.
Not really.
You really can't easily do it. Maybe a small motorcycle in the back, but it's more mobile. When you get to a Class A, you're stuck unless you tow a Jeep or you have a motorcycle in the back. And a fifth wheeler also, it's a different trade-off. It's slower going down the road because of the wind. It's harder to steer, and you need an expensive tow vehicle for your truck. But once you set it up, you still have that tow vehicle to use. So I think people like that. But if you're changing camp a lot, a fifth wheeler is probably not the best way to go. We found that our Class A, we can roll out pretty quickly, pulling in the slides in 15-20 minutes.
You don't need to hitch up anything.
Pull the utilities, the sewer, and you're basically, and lift the jacks up, and you're ready to go. So that is a big thing to think about. Some people also, I've read, talked about, well, in a Class A, if there's a bad guy at the door, I can just drive away without getting out of the vehicle. And I'm thinking, well, that's okay as long as you're not plugged in.
All right.
But yeah, technically, if you're not plugged in and you're boondocking, you could pull the slides in or whatever and drive right away.
Or just pull the plug off.
I think it's just better to get a bigger dog.
The number 6 question you are going to ask yourself is, what's your budget? How are you going to pay for it?
That's a big thing, because a lot of people get way over their head on a loan, and they don't realize that it's not a house loan. This is a vehicle loan. So the minute you drive a brand new RV off the lot, it will depreciate 20–25%. Plus, when they're expensive, they're typically harder to sell. So once you've committed to making that purchase, it's a big decision, and it's going to be hard to get rid of that purchase. So it's best to stay, first of all, within your budget. If you can, start by buying something simple with cash, because then you don't have a loan. And if you're living in it and you buy it cash, it's easy to save money, right? Because you're not, only thing you're probably paying on is rent and gas and food. And instead of having two payments with, say, a house and a RV, with an RV, that's a hard thing to do. Also, the big thing I found is people say, hey, I've got a pickup truck, I'm going to get a fifth wheeler. That's a great idea, but
Not
you first,
yeah,
you need to do your math. You need to do your homework, because some people buy these really long 40-foot, 45-foot fifth wheelers, and they have a half-ton pickup. It's not going to pull it safely. They'll say, well, it pulls it. Well, it might pull it, but it may not break, and it certainly won't go up a hill very well. So you need, generally, with a fifth wheeler, you generally need a dually. You need a 1-ton, something with a high payload tongue weight, and additional braking capacity. Of course, you're also going to have brakes on the trailer, but that's a big problem, is people underbuy on their truck when they buy a fifth wheeler.
And those trucks are not cheap.
And
so
even
combine these two together, it's gonna be big bucks.
Yeah, and even an Airstream, yeah, it's lighter.
But it's expensive already.
It's very expensive. And in a high wind and in icy conditions, they're going to be very dicey when you're braking. Don't get me wrong, we love Airstream.
We love Airstream.
Yeah, I think if there was a Class A Airstream, of course we couldn't afford it, but we would love to have one, because the interiors are so nice. A lot of people that are retro campers that will collect the old versions of these, and they're worth a lot of money. In fact, one time we were camping at Pinnacles Park, and there were like 6 toasters there, weren't there?
Good. So the number 7 question you are going to ask yourself is, who is going to drive? Not me.
But why not? I could take a nap every now and then. That is a big question. I don't have much of a problem driving this Class A, but I have to admit, the first 2 years I drove it, I wasn't very relaxed. There's a lot of overload of senses, because it's not like driving a car, it's not like driving a pickup truck. You're sitting 10 feet up in the air, and you're really wide and you're really long. You can't even get a very good comprehension of how long you are when you're turning and backing up. So it takes time to know where you are in the lane, how to drive it, but once you start to relax and feel more comfortable with it, then you'll realize that, for me, a Class A, I think, is the best ride, because it's got the air ride shock suspension, and a great view out the big window. But most people, I think, are going to be a bit intimidated to drive something so long. If you drive a Sprinter van, a van, something like that, even a Class C, it's not near as daunting of a drive, because it feels basically like other things that you've driven. Yeah. So that's one big thing that you have to think about when you purchase. Can you even drive it?
Maybe we should start Class B or C for me to get used to driving, and then jump to the A. But we start from A, so I'm always afraid to drive it.
And the thing that concerns me is, if I ever get in a situation where my health is a problem, maybe I break a leg or something like that, you would have you would have to drive.
Yeah, so maybe I should go to the Class A.
You're kind of stranded, because you can't drive the motorcycle and you don't want to drive the Class A. So yeah, we need to get a license for you also.
So it's better not only one person can drive, it's better to have another person who can drive Class A or the big truck as well. So just in case anything happens. Yeah.
But besides, you can take breaks, turns driving and drive farther if that's your goal that day.
Yeah.
And it can be more relaxing.
Yeah, he can never rest.
She's always sleeping while I'm driving. But you always have to think about how you're going to go down the road, who's going to drive it. And for anyone in a long vehicle, it's going to take some experience to get used to driving it. So those are some things you want to consider. But the easiest ones to drive generally, of course, are vans, Class B's, Sprinter vans, and then maybe Class C's are more debatable. Probably the worst to tow are long trailers and toy haulers and fifth wheelers, because especially the backing up and the ability for the tow vehicle to pull. So those are things that you have to consider.
So the number 8 question you are going to ask yourself is, what are the most important features you need in the RV?
These are the must-haves, right? Now you know family requirements, travel requirements. What do you need inside? Do you need bunk beds? Do you need multiple living areas?
Dual sinks.
Dual sinks, dual
Two
bathrooms. Yeah. Dishwasher even, washer dryer. How fancy are you going to get?
How much storage you need?
Storage is really big, yeah. And for the guys especially, I think we're always thinking, do we need a diesel engine or a gas engine? And that's always a very debatable thing. You're going to spend more money on a diesel engine, more money on maintenance, but it will haul better, it's going to go up hills better, it will take a heavier load better. Gas is currently a little bit cheaper where we live, but not in all areas. It's flip-flopped in some areas, but that's irrelevant compared to just the price of the engine and the maintenance. So it depends on how many miles you think you're going to go in a year. If you go a lot of miles, normally you're definitely going to want to get a diesel. But I know people that have both and like both, so it will be your personal decision.
Yep.
Of course, the different vehicles will have more deciding factor also, because some of the small stuff won't have diesel engines at all. So those are things that you need to think about.
So the number 9 question you are going to ask yourself is, will you finance?
Yeah, the issue with that is, especially if you're a full-timer, most banks are not happy to loan to people who are full-timing. I'm not sure if it's because they can't locate where you live, probably, or if it's another issue. But I've been told that normally you don't want to tell them that you're full-timing when you get the loan.
Yeah.
In other cases they've said that it hasn't been a problem. But that is a concern. You're going to want to check with several banks or credit unions to figure out what they will and will not allow, so you can start to know more of what your budget is. Once you figure out the rates and payments, then you can figure out what your final budget is to living. And so that's very important, that you can make this affordable and start to get an idea of what your finances look like according to the loan.
Or if you have a house and then you want to purchase an RV, it's better to, if you need to get a loan, it's better to have a physical
Address.
residing address.
Yeah.
Easier for you to get a loan.
Right.
Not wait until you already sold everything and then ready to move into an RV. That's the things we encounter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Personally, we took a loan out to begin with, but if you can, try and avoid getting a loan altogether, because it will tie you down. And now that we, are debt-free on the RV, it feels like it's easier to live in it, because you don't have that burden of having to make that payment.
So the last question you need to ask yourself is, what are your long-term plans for the RV?
It may be hard to answer that question. Certainly if you're younger, you definitely won't know. But one of the things you will want to understand, if you can, is what are your long-term plans. Most people tend to buy big and then scale down, or they buy small and scale up. And when they do so, they spend a lot of extra money that they didn't necessarily have to if they'd have known more about their plans. So it's an important question to ask yourself. You may not have all those answers, and that's okay. It's better just to start out than not do anything at all. But the thing is, RVs are hard to sell, and it's expensive to trade them in or to move to a different model by paying the new sales tax if you're in certain states. So it's important to know what your long-term plans are and try and plan around that. If you feel like you need to be more mobile than most, definitely you're going to stick with something smaller, a Sprinter van or a truck camper or a small TT trailer.
Or teardrop.
Yeah, or a teardrop trailer. And if you want to do more resort living, then a bigger rig like a fifth wheeler or a Class A typically is what people will buy. And so that's one of the things that you'll need to understand in your RV living. And don't worry if your plans change, they change. The nice thing about a van or an RV is, if say you're still working and you get a relo, if you're living in it, it's real easy to relo. You just take your house with you, because remember, home is where you park it.
Yeah.
So good luck on your shopping ventures, and we hope to hear from you and tell us the details of what you've decided for your purchase and how you made that decision.
Yeah, comment down below.
Yeah. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and to like. It really helps our channel out, so we appreciate it. Thanks for watching our video today.
So see you next time on Lovey Flottante,
The Floating Life. Bye-bye. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time on RV Flottante.